A woman in Oaxaca woke up one Tuesday morning with something distinctly different in her chest. It was not the familiar, crushing weight of debt she had carried for years, nor was it the usual knot of anxiety that greeted her before her feet even touched the floor. Instead, it was a strange, profound, and almost inexplicable calm, as though, under the cover of darkness, something within her consciousness had fundamentally and permanently shifted. Her name was Concha. She was 44 years old, and the night before, she had done something she had never once attempted in her entire life. Before closing her eyes to sleep, Concha had quietly spoken a specific, scientifically structured phrase of spiritual truth that she had discovered in a book on metaphysical law. She did not do it with perfect, unshakable faith, nor did she possess absolute certainty that it would work. She did it with the trembling, quiet curiosity of someone who has exhausted all material avenues and realizes they have absolutely nothing left to lose. That morning, upon checking her phone, she found a notification of an unexpected deposit in her bank account. It was a small amount, yes, but it came from a completely unforeseen source. What Concha did not know was that this Tuesday morning was merely the first ripple of a massive tide. It was the beginning of a sequence of events, a precise spiritual pattern that has been observed and documented in hundreds of identical cases of financial emancipation. There exists a sacred, scientifically precise declaration that, when spoken with deliberate intention at the exact, fleeting moment before sleep, activates a direct connection within the deeper mind to the divine source of all supply. It is a connection that operates autonomously while the physical body rests and the soul goes to work. For years, students of spiritual truth have observed a pattern that the material world rarely dares to articulate clearly. The individuals who experience the most profound, seemingly miraculous financial transformations are almost never the most intellectually brilliant, the hardest working in a physical sense, or the most ruthlessly disciplined. Rather, they possess an understanding of something far more subtle and infinitely more powerful. They know exactly what to declare and what frequency to embody right before their waking consciousness crosses the sacred threshold into sleep. Spiritually and metaphysically speaking, the final 5 minutes before you fall asleep are the most critical, consequential minutes of your entire day. In that twilight state between wakefulness and slumber, the rational, critical, and often cynical conscious mind begins to withdraw its defenses. The analytical brain, which spends all day telling you what is impossible, finally goes quiet. In this state, your subconscious mind is left entirely exposed. It is like a vast field of freshly plowed, incredibly fertile soil, standing wide open and ready to receive whatever seed you choose to plant in it. What you declare in that specific instant is not easily forgotten by the deeper mind. It is permanently recorded, accepted as absolute truth, and immediately acted upon. The great tragedy of the human race is that the vast majority of people use this sacred window to plant seeds of their own ruin. They use the last 5 minutes of their day to mentally review their debts, to calculate what they are missing, to obsess over who has wronged them, and to fear the impending dawn of tomorrow. Night after night, as they lie in the dark, they actively water an internal garden of anguish and limitation. By taking thoughts of lack into the silence of sleep, they instruct their inner builder to construct more lack. They are, quite literally, praying for poverty without realizing it. The good news is that this destructive pattern can be broken tonight. Consider the case of Armando. He was 51 years old and had spent nearly a decade working as a builder. He was an honest, quiet man, but he was profoundly tired. He was not just tired of the grueling physical labor. He was tired of always arriving at the exact same point at the end of the month. The money simply never reached far enough to cover his family's needs. One Sunday afternoon, his youngest daughter showed him a video detailing these exact teachings of metaphysical law. Without much intellectual conviction, but with a willing heart, he decided to listen. That night, before turning off the bedside lamp, Armando pronounced a declaration of prosperity for the very first time. He spoke it slowly, in a low whisper so as not to wake anyone in the house. He did not see a blinding flash of light, nor did he feel anything outwardly extraordinary in that moment. He only noticed a different kind of silence, as if the very temperature and atmosphere of the room had shifted invisibly. He fell asleep without knowing the magnitude of what he had just set into motion. 3 days later, a contractor he had not seen or spoken to in 2 years called him completely out of the blue, offering him a specialized project that paid triple what he normally earned in a month. Armando accepted the offer with trembling hands. What he felt was not superstition. It was the quiet, undeniable recognition that his internal reality had changed, and that the physical world was simply rushing to catch up to the truth he had whispered in the dark. This is not a psychological trick, nor is it mere positive thinking. It is a spiritual law as precise and unfailing as the law of gravity. When the human consciousness aligns itself with the divine mind at the correct moment, the manifestation of abundance is not a miracle. It is a natural, unavoidable consequence. If this teaching is resonating with something deep inside of you, if you feel an internal recognition of this truth, please hit the like button on this video so that the algorithm may share it with others who are suffering from the illusion of lack. I'm Julian, and I invite you to subscribe to the Soul Awakening channel. Every week, we explore the most powerful spiritual laws that govern this universe. The abundance you have been desperately seeking in the outside world actually begins with the specific consciousness you choose to cultivate tonight, right before you close your eyes. To fully comprehend the sheer, unadulterated power of this nightly practice, we must first deeply understand the fundamental mechanics of human consciousness. The mind does not operate as a single, uniform entity. Rather, it possesses two distinct levels of operation that function in completely different ways. First, we have the conscious mind. This is the intellect. It analyzes, it doubts, it compares, it calculates, and it judges. Throughout your waking hours, the conscious mind acts as a stern guardian at the gate of your reality. If you try to tell yourself, "I am overwhelmingly prosperous," your conscious mind immediately looks at your bank account, laughs, and rejects the statement as false. It filters out anything that contradicts your current physical circumstances. Beneath this lies the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not argue. It does not rationalize. It does not doubt. Its sole function is to accept, record, execute, and manifest whatever is handed to it. During the day, the conscious mind vigorously defends the gates, preventing any new, radical beliefs from entering the subconscious. But at the precise threshold of sleep, an extraordinary spiritual phenomenon occurs. The analytical guardian grows wary, drops its defenses, and falls asleep. In that brief window, the gates to the subconscious mind are left wide open. This is not merely an interesting psychological quirk. It is a spiritual law of immense, life-altering consequence. If, in that exact moment of total receptivity, you introduce a declaration of divine truth regarding your prosperity, that truth slips past all resistance. It bypasses the doubts, the filters, and the logical debates. It installs itself directly into the deepest layers of your consciousness. Think of your subconscious mind as a vast, mystical garden that is cultivated under the cover of darkness. If you plant a seed of true abundance just before the nightly work begins, that seed has 8 uninterrupted hours to establish deep roots, entirely free from the noise, fear, and interference of the outside world. You are, in effect, handing a perfectly drawn architectural blueprint to the interior engineer who constructs your reality while you sleep. Consider the case of Rebecca, a 38-year-old accountant who lost her employment during a severe corporate downsizing. For months, she aggressively sought work with absolutely no success. Her financial situation was rapidly deteriorating, and the emotional exhaustion was beginning to ravage her health. Through her desperation, she stumbled upon these very teachings. What she discovered was a profound paradigm shift. Scarcity is not a spiritual reality. It is merely a mental illusion sustained by repeated patterns of fearful thinking. And those patterns are reinforced most powerfully in the vulnerable transition between wakefulness and sleep. Rebecca realized she had been using that sacred time to tally her failures. She immediately changed course. Instead of mentally rehearsing her anxieties, she began to deliberately tune her consciousness, much like tuning a radio dial to a new station, using the specific metaphysical treatment designed by spiritual masters. This brings us to the core of the practice. The treatment is not a magic spell that forces the universe to obey your whims. It is a precise method of spiritual tuning. When you tune your consciousness to the divine mind before sleep, you become like a lighthouse in the dark. A lighthouse does not run frantically across the ocean chasing ships. It stands still and simply radiates a frequency that draws the ships to it. To turn yourself into this beacon, you must follow a highly specific, 4-step metaphysical nightly treatment. It is not enough to just passively think a good thought. You must prepare the vessel of your mind. Step 1 is the release. Before you speak any words of power, you must empty your consciousness of the day's debris. Imagine every worry, every unpaid bill, every rejection, and every lingering fear as a heavy, dark stone clutched tightly in your hands. In your mind's eye, visualize yourself standing beside a rushing river of brilliant, liquid divine light. Mentally open your hands and let every single stone drop into that river, watching them dissolve instantly upon contact. You must consciously surrender the resistance of the day. Step 2 is the recognition of divine presence. Do not treat God or the universe as a distant, abstract concept floating in the sky. Before you make your declaration, you must feel, even if only for a fleeting, solitary second, the absolute, undeniable certainty that the divine presence is physically occupying the very room you are resting in. This crucial step transforms your spoken words from a hollow, desperate monologue into a living, breathing conversation with the infinite. Step 3 is the vision of accomplishment. Here you must visualize, briefly but with crystal clarity, your prosperity as an already manifested fact. Do not create an overly elaborate fantasy. Keep it simple. See yourself sitting in absolute calm, utterly free from financial anguish, with all your needs effortlessly met and your heart overflowing with peace. You must feel this image not as a desperate wish for the future, but as a living memory. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between an intense physical experience and a vividly imagined internal one. It will accept your vision as current reality and immediately begin organizing the physical world to match it. Step 4 is the spoken word. Finally, you must physically speak the sacred phrase. It must be spoken softly, but it must be audible. You must not merely think it silently. The physical sound of your own voice, vibrating through your vocal cords and resonating in your chest cavity, has a powerful vibratory effect on the cellular structure of your body and the energetic field of your mind. The voice is the active instrument through which consciousness decrees its reality into existence. When you have completed the preparation, lying in the quiet darkness of your room, you will speak these exact, carefully chosen words. God is my infinite abundance. His prosperity flows to me now as I rest, and I awaken to the fullness of my divine inheritance. Every single word in this sacred phrase carries a specific spiritual weight designed to dismantle limiting beliefs. Notice the word infinite. The human mind constantly attempts to place an artificial ceiling on the prosperity it can receive, basing its limits on what it considers logical, possible, or deserved based on past performance. By boldly declaring the abundance as infinite, you instantly dissolve that invisible mental ceiling. You expand your consciousness beyond its habitual borders, opening yourself to receive through channels you previously could not even fathom. Furthermore, the phrase, flows to me now as I rest, serves a highly precise spiritual purpose. We have been deeply conditioned by society to believe that we must endlessly suffer, struggle, and labor relentlessly just to survive. This deeply ingrained belief actively limits the flow of divine supply, because it strictly conditions prosperity to our physical exhaustion. By declaring that prosperity flows while you rest, you completely shatter that limiting condition. You grant the divine mind the ultimate permission to operate, organize, and deliver on your behalf across all dimensions of time, especially during the silent hours of your deepest sleep.